Okay, how did I become a comedian? Actually, I flunked out of everything else. All right, so when I got fired from my fifth engineering job in 17 months, the girl who gave me my check, my last check, her name was Betty. She said, "Hey, you know what? You should be a comedian because you're funny." I go, "Yeah, my son's 2 years old. I have no income. I'm going to be a comedian." I go, "I don't even know how you become a comedian." So I went back to my agent who got me the 5 jobs, and he said, "You're ruining my reputation." I had to put down, after my third or fourth job on the applications for the engineering jobs, I had to put down I was in the Peace Corps, because he didn't want to say that, I had 5 engineering jobs in 17 months. Nobody would touch me. And then he finally told me, "You're ruining my reputation. I'm not sending you out anymore." And I said, "Can you send me to another employment agency?" He goes, "No, go to the unemployment office." So I did. I went to unemployment office and I got unemployment. And on the day I signed for my last check, which was 15 months after I quit engineering, I got Richard Belzer came over to me at Catch a Rising Star and said, "Hey, Larry David doesn't want to be the MC. You want the job?" And I said, "Yes!" And I took it. And that's how I became a comedian. That's why I became a comedian, because I couldn't do anything else. I actually auditioned for The Tonight Show in probably October or November of '76. In fact, they came in from the show, but not Johnny, and none of us got it. Richard Lewis and Barry Diamond, Elaine Boozler, myself, Richard Belzer, Mike Preminger, none of us got the show. And then about 6 months later, I was actually booked at a Jewish singles club in Kent, Connecticut called Camp Getaway. And I told Rick Newman, my manager, I said, "Hey, I have a job for $200 on Saturday night." He goes, "Oh, no, not this Saturday. Bells is out of town and Kelly Rogers is out of town. I need one of my boys here and I need you to be here." I said, "Rick, it's $200 and I'm only getting 50 from you." And he said, "I'll make it up to you." And I said, "Okay." So I stayed there that night. And that night, the bartender, Billy Del Giorno, comes over to me and says, "Johnny Carson just called. He's coming." And I go, "Yeah, right." I said, "It's Jeff DeHart doing an impression of Johnny Carson." And Johnny Carson's like, "No, he wants a table for 4. I said, "Yeah, right." I said, "Okay, just call me when he gets here." I was sitting on the jukebox, and all of a sudden the door opens up, and here comes Johnny and his wife, and Bombastic Bushkin and his wife. And he walked over to Billy, and Billy brought him over to me and said, "This is the MC David Sayh." And I was like, freaked out. And then he took the table, and I said to him, "Do you mind if I introduce you in the audience?" And he said, "Not if the other acts don't mind." Of course, I didn't ask the other acts because I didn't care if they minded or not. But looking back on it in retrospect, I realized what he meant by saying that was he didn't want the crowd to get so excited about him being there that they lost focus of the show and they didn't pay attention to the other acts. So I thought that was very respectful. I didn't realize that till later on, that Johnny was just being respectful, that he didn't want to have the audience be distracted where they weren't paying attention to the other acts. And then I went up and I did my regular spot. And then afterwards, Billy said, "Johnny wants to talk to you." I said, "Talk to me." And I couldn't even get to him because the second show, people were coming in. I jumped over the bar, walked down the back of the bar, jumped back over, and there he was right in front of me. And he gave me some ideas for jokes. He said, "Hey, you should try this with this other joke." I'm like, Johnny Carson's telling me jokes to put in my act. That was like Twilight Zone. And then about a month later, I was on the show. That's it. Actually, let me tell you a little story. Okay, my first cruise was in let me see, what year was it? I think it was 83. It was 83. Yes, it was 83 on the old Doric, because I had a choice. I got a cruise to Bermuda on the Doric, and on the same day that the ship left to go to Bermuda, I had to be in court in Baltimore, for a little minor offense, nothing serious. So I had a choice between going to court in Baltimore or going on a cruise to Bermuda. So it's what they call nolo contendere, I think, in court, right? I took the cruise. It was on the Doric, and it was fabulous. And I got to see the whole cruise business, about how much fun it is, and about how, it's like you're out there in that world, and it's like you really forget about the rest of the planet. Like when you're out there in the middle of the ocean, and you're, just cruising, or you're doing a show, it's like if the rest of the world doesn't exist. It's like it's just you, the boat, and water. It's like the rest of the world is water. It's a really good way to relax. And there are so many acts that are phenomenal that nobody ever sees because there's no forum for that anymore on land, like the shows that I did when I was starting out, like Caroline's and the Improv, on just Showtime shows, HBO shows. Those shows, I guess they're not having as many of them as they did back then. And there are just so many acts that people don't know that with this show they're going to get the exposure, and people are going to realize how much talent is out there that they're not aware of, and I think it's going to just be great for the whole industry, for the cruise industry, and for the entertainment industry, and for all these people that are looking for somebody new or something new that they haven't seen yet. I just think it's a great idea.